Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into another chilling Reddit paranormal story. So turn the lights off, get comfortable, and let's get into it. This one is titled, Something Got in the Bed with Me. Ever since I was little, I had multiple experiences with the paranormal. I have seen and heard things. I even had a couple of dreams, and it still creeps me the hell out when I experience something new. I've been wanting to share some of the stories I have experienced. So here's one that still creeps me the hell out even though it happened a few years ago. A little background before I started, I have two sun kanas, and they usually have them free range of the room even when I'm not home. I also leave the TV on when I'm not there. Like I said, this happened few year. I should have been 20 at the time. I remember being tired all day and just wanted to get home to sleep. I got back from work around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so there was still light outside. I go into my room, changing and putting the birds away. Hell's Kitchen was playing at the time. I was okay with a little background noise, so I get in bed. As I started getting comfortable, I decided against the noise and turn off the TV. I finally get comfortable and start falling asleep. I was in a half asleep, half awake state when I started hearing the TV. Confused, I crack my eyes open and see that the TV is off. Thinking I was hearing stuff, I close my eyes and get comfortable again. That's when I feel my blankets move and the bed dip, and the blanket moves again as if someone was going to take a nap with me. My first thought was that my sister came into my room and was going to take a nap with me. My second thought was that would be impossible since she would have still been at school at the time. That's when the fear really set in and I freeze. Mustering up the courage, I turn around and see no one. I then quickly turn back around, cover my face with a blanket, and fall back asleep. I woke up again around 6 in the afternoon and rush upstairs to tell my mom what happened. All she tells me to do is pray. Before you guys start saying it's fake, since I just went back to sleep. That's always the way my body responds when I experience something paranormal when I'm sleeping. My one and only demonic experience. Before I share this experience, I just need to throw something out there. I mostly use Reddit to post fictional horror stories I've written. However, I do also occasionally post my own true scary experiences. But to make the following paranormal experience of mine a little more credible, I've chosen to just write it out without caring how good or structured the writing is. Although I can't remember the exact year, it was either 2016 or 2017, when I was most likely 16 years old. I'd been living in the Republic of Ireland for just under 3 years, having moved from England. My family and I lived in the Midlands in a very small town. During my teenage years, because of how depressing my life was, mostly due to hating school, I regularly began believing and praying to God, naively thinking if I did, He would magically make my life better. Well, it was during this spiritual phase that I came upon a certain YouTube video. The video was about a man who had apparently been brought by Jesus to hell, and while he was there, Jesus showed him all kinds of eternal horrors. From what I can remember, the man saw the souls of people being tortured and burned alive by demons or something. Well, after experiencing this, the man then wakes up in his bed, as though from a dream. However, the man claimed what he experienced wasn't a dream at all, but a real experience of what happens to sinners in hell. Although I didn't know if what this man experienced was real or not, it definitely made me terrified of ever spending eternity in the fiery depths of hell. However, not long after watching this video, I suddenly felt very unsettled. Not because of the video I just watched, but to my memory, I almost felt as though I was now being watched while supposedly alone in my bedroom. But not only did I feel like I was being watched, I also felt like I was somehow in danger. So much so that I leave my room to go downstairs, as that's where my parents and sister were. Now, what comes next is the real scary part of this experience. Because as soon as I reach down the stairs, before I get in any room, I feel a hard physical tap on the back of my shoulder, where I then literally turn around and scream. No word of a lie, I screamed. But when I turn around, there isn't anyone or anything there, as though a ghost had tapped me on the back. Also worth mentioning is that I had screamed so loud that my mom was now shouting me from the living room, asking what was wrong. For the rest of that evening, I remember being very afraid and skittish, that every noise or movement I heard had me incredibly paranoid. In fact, I was so skittish that whenever my dog, who was still just a small puppy at the time, came up to me, I was afraid of her touching me. Living in this house for only a few more months before moving, I never had another experience like this one, nor have I since. Although I've always been a fan of scary stories, real and fictional, I basically know little to nothing about demons or ghosts, as I find aliens and cryptids a lot more interesting. I'm not sharing this story to prove it was a real paranormal experience. Maybe it wasn't. But if there's anyone reading this who knows anything about demonic experiences or similar experiences of the supernatural, I would really like to hear your thoughts. Who knows? Maybe the whole thing was just a psychological reaction from watching a video about hell being real. However, after sharing this story, I do have to admit something. For the sake of being honest, I do also believe I had a real UFO experience when I was around 11, which I've already written about. No joke. I saw an actual flying saucer from my bedroom window. I already know mentioning this UFO experience doesn't help my credibility regarding my alleged demonic experience, but at least I'm being honest and not holding anything back. Whether you believe I had a demonic experience or not, if you don't, that's fine. If anyone can help me out with what I experienced, even if the whole thing was most likely psychological, I would really like to hear your thoughts. Also, for anyone wondering why I haven't shared this story sooner, since I've already written about my other scary experiences, I think it's just because I already wrote about my UFO experience and doubted anyone would believe I also had a demonic one. Anyways, thanks for reading. I'm an undertaker and something happened. Something happened, and I've always been skeptical. Until today. I am an undertaker, and I have been for the past 8 years. I've always been skeptical when it comes to the afterlife, especially the paranormal. But today, something happened that I cannot explain. I was cleaning unclaimed ashes out of the funeral home where I work. We are moving out of the old Victorian building we operate out of into a new funeral home. For the past week, we have been making a slow transition, moving out of our current home into our new one. In our basement, we have unclaimed ashes going as far back as the 1970s. I just had my headphones in, putting the boxes into bags, so we could send them to the local crematorium for them to be scattered. I must have put away hundreds of boxes of ashes without even thinking about it. I was just listening to a podcast, getting another task ticked off my to-do list. I was putting one box in the bag and felt my body and brain freeze with the word "no," but I didn't hear anything. It's hard to explain what I felt. The best I can explain it is that my own free will had gone, and I was ordered to stop what I was doing. I stopped immediately and put the box of ashes in my hand onto the table. On closer inspection, there were 2 boxes I was going to put in 2 separate bags. One small box and one normal-sized one. Let's just say, for privacy reasons, one box was labeled Hannah Williams. On top of Hannah Williams' ashes, there was a box labeled Baby Williams. I presume they are mother and baby, who I was about to separate into 2 separate bags, which I find quite spooky because I didn't read the labels before. I was doing a mundane task as fast as I could with my existing duties and clearing the premises. I was just trying to get things done as fast as possible and was not paying attention to the names. I just needed to get this done. So yeah, I cannot explain this for the life of me. I cannot come up with an explanation for this. I'm not scared, nor am I excited about what I felt. I just feel confused about the whole situation. My husband died in 2020. After he died, I found out a series of very unpleasant things about him. It was devastating and took me more than 3 years to come to grips with. He died in August of 2020, and I sold our condo in June of 2021. He had renovated the entire condo. Kitchen, both bathrooms, flooring, trim, doors, everything. It took nearly 3 years. I have 2 small dogs, and when the realtor told me someone was coming to see the property, I took the dogs, locked the door, and went outside. The realtor told me to be out for about 30 minutes. After that period of time, I went back upstairs. The door was as locked. I entered, and when I did, it looked as if people had been there. Doors were moved. The laundry doors were wide open. I had closed them. They were barn doors. I then got a text from the realtor asking me why I didn't put the key in the lockbox on the main floor outside. The people couldn't get in with their realtor. I'll be honest, I was in a very bad place after he died, particularly after what I found, and thinking in detail was not something I was doing. I went to the main washroom and saw that the bath mat was sitting over the tub, not the way I left it. I touched it and felt water, almost like someone got out of a shower and had been standing on it. It was a fairly big apartment, 2 bedrooms and an office. When the dogs and I were in bed at night, I could hear noises in the kitchen after he died at night. I was too afraid to get out of bed. It was a concrete building, and we couldn't hear anything people were doing in apartments near us. So hearing something was very unusual. I moved in June of 2021 to a new condo. The first night there I was alone. The dogs were being taken care of. I was laying in bed, not asleep, laying on my side at the edge. I felt someone brush past me. My hair actually moved. It scared the hell out of me. I lay there for a few minutes afraid to move. Finally, I moved again recently far from where I had been living. Last Christmas Eve, I was in bed. My bedroom door was open, and I clearly heard 3 knocks on that door. It happened twice. This also really scared me. I have never been one to think of the spirit world until recently. Last Christmas, I made statements out loud and told him to leave me alone. So far, all has been good. The last 4 years has been a real ride. Haunted Hollywood. I remember Hollywood not as a postcard version, but as something heavier, something that lingered after the lights dimmed. I was younger than chasing opportunity, walking into rooms where ambition hung thicker than perfume. The Roosevelt Hotel was one of those places where history watched you back. You felt at the moment you stepped onto that patterned carpet, like the floor itself had a memory and it wasn't done talking. I stayed there during a stretch when sleep came in fragments. The lobby was always alive, even at hours when it should not have been. Old Hollywood ghosts, they said actors, producers, dreamers who never left because they gave too much of themselves to the machine. I laughed it off at first because I am not the type to scare easy. Life has already shown me darker things than a creaking hallway. But one night, I woke up around 3 a.m, wide awake for no reason. The room felt crowded, even though I was alone. The air was cold in a way that had nothing to do with the AC. I sat up, and that is when I heard it, footsteps slow, deliberate pacing back and forth just outside my door. Not drunk stumbling, not hotel staff moving fast, but measured like someone taking their time. I called out hello, and the footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was louder than the noise had been. I opened the door, and the hallway was empty, lights buzzing softly, carpets swallowing any sound. No one. Nothing. I told myself it was exhaustion. Ambition has a way of haunting you when you push too hard. The next night it happened again, but closer this time. This time the sound was inside the room, a chair shifting slightly like someone had brushed past it. I could feel eyes on me, that feeling you get when you know you are not alone, even if logic says you are. My chest tightened, not from fear, but from recognition, like whatever was there knew why I come to Hollywood and knew how much I wanted to prove. I stood up and said out loud, I am just passing through. I am not here to take anything that isn't mine. The room warmed almost immediately like a breath had been released. The pressure lifted. I slept the rest of the night without a dream. The Roosevelt teaches you something if you pay attention. Hollywood is full of spirits, some dead, some very much alive. People who never left because they tied their worth to applause, to fame, to being seen. I walked out of that hotel knowing I did not want to be another presence stuck in a hallway, pacing forever, waiting for someone to open a door. That was my Hollywood experience. Not glamorous, not shiny, but honest. A reminder that success without grounding can trap you just as surely as any ghost story ever could.